The morning comes too soon, on the heels of a sleepless night. Is this how Emmy's been spending her nights? Staring at the wall or ceiling, trying to stop thinking about whatever it is? Her, in my case. That clenched feeling in my gut is still there. I can't rely on you. Words spoken so casually. Almost like she was teasing me or chastising me for suggesting that the earth is flat. That's how it's got to be. The way it's got to be sucks. I'm feeling so miserable that I very nearly decide to skip the run. That would be stupid, though. It's not something I should do just to see her. Sure, that was the original reason, but it's something more now. I've started to enjoy the running itself. There are worse ways to get the blood flowing anyway. Never thought I'd say that after the first week or so, but I feel a lot better after a run. Like no matter what else I do today, at least I'd done that one thing. It wakes me up too. And Emmy herself said that running always clears her mind. Maybe it'll help clear mine. I hope so. The morning is cool and clear, if a bit humid. Summer making itself known, it seems. Emmy's already stretching out when I arrive and greets me with a smile and a wave. Hey, it's Al. The sight of her so chipper is like a kick in the nuts. How could she be so happy after yesterday? I give a half wave and I'm surprised to receive a hug. Hey, about last night. Here it comes. I wanted to say thanks. I actually managed to get some sleep for the first time in a while. I think it's because of our talk. So thanks. How could she sleep better after our chat? She basically told me that she wouldn't get any closer to me. And that let her sleep well? Excuse me, but what the hell? Emmy either doesn't notice my bafflement or chooses not to notice. No telling with her anymore. Oh, no problem. Glad it helped. The venom that threatened to drip into my voice is controlled for now, but I think I'd better start running now before I do anything stupid. Emmy seems equally willing to get started. Before long, we're darting around the track. I can tell she feels more relaxed. Her running has gone back to the more graceful movements I remember from when I first watched her. It's a stark contrast to the almost brutal way she'd been hurling herself around the track the past few days. Our talk really does seem to have helped her. A pity it couldn't help me. I get into the rhythm of the running, thinking back to when I couldn't afford thinking about anything else, keeping my breath steady and legs moving. Guess those days are gone, at least for the first couple of laps. Annoyed at the lack of success I'm having with clearing my head, I increase the pace. There's the burning sensation in my legs. The breath coming ragged in my chest, the pounding of my heart, which I still need to be careful about. But it does seem to have gotten stronger. I can feel it pumping blood through my veins. The sound trums in my ears, but instead of being panicked as I was that day in the snow, I'm instead filled with elation. Yes, it's working. My heart. That fatal flaw that landed me here has improved. I'm able to keep going now, and maybe one day I'll be able to stop worrying as much. Right now, it doesn't matter that I have no idea what to do about Emmy and me. All that matters is that my arms and legs continue to pump in concert with one another. Nothing else. As I hit the final stretch, I remind myself that running really does help, though not as much as I had hoped. Anything is better than nothing, I would imagine. I do feel better, and as I walk a few laps to cool down, I begin to remember last night in a slightly less emotional manner. Emmy wants me to stay distant from her. I can't bring myself to do so. There's gotta be a way around this, some kind of middle ground I can reach. Not sure what that middle ground is, though. Damn, I almost feel optimistic. Nice run, Sal. You've really improved. Nice run. That's all I can hope for now, isn't it? Congratulations, Sal. You're pathetic. I gotta change my attitude. You know, I am pretty awesome. And yet I keep saying things that I don't mean. Any second now I'll be as good at hiding my own problems as Emmy is. I like to think so. Why does she do this to me? Say something like that with such real affection in her voice that makes my heart leap? She doesn't mean it. She can't. I must be doing a worse job than I thought because Emmy peers closely at me. Hey, you feeling okay? Maybe we should get to the nurse, huh? Yeah, I'd hate to keel over on you. Emmy looks a little shocked at my bitter tone. Don't say things like that. You've already done it once before, you know. Why does she act so affectionate? She doesn't really care. I thought she made that clear. But despite all of that, I find myself apologizing even though I shouldn't have to. Even though she's probably just putting on an act. I don't think she's putting on an act. I do feel like she is legitimately affectionate towards you and does like you. But I also don't know how to phrase it either. Sorry. Come on, let's see the nurse. I can't get myself to calm down the whole time. Every time it feels like I've gotten over what happened last night, Emmy does something or says something that shows affection, and I'm back to the beginning. The image of her ending that conversation haunts me. It's like the final twist of the knife that left me feeling bereft of any hope that Emmy and I could be more than what we are. What are we at this point? Little more... Indeed. Really, it's not like I don't enjoy the time I spend with her. Said so the other day myself. Fairly narrowly didn't even bring anything up with her. Was just gonna hop on in there and let it ride, wasn't I? With this running through my head, I find myself in front of the nurse's office, still brooding as he checks out Emmy. Emmy comes bounding out the door, gives me a kiss, and darts off to the shower, I assume. Meanwhile, the nurse beckons me into his office to give me the ritual once-over. Any problems today? Physically, no. Mentally, I am a absolute category 15. Nah, I even pushed it a little harder today than I have in the past, and I seem to be able to handle it. That's uncharacteristically risky coming from you, Hassel. You've been hanging out with Emmy too much. She's rubbed off on you, not necessarily in a good way. At the mention of Emmy's name, I can't help but frown unhappily in spite of my efforts at control. Well, now this is new, don't you think? Last I checked, your usual response to Emmy's name was a grin, not a frown. What exactly happened between you two? Because Emmy doesn't seem to be in on it, whatever it is. She looked more relaxed than I'd ever seen her in weeks, which is unusual for this time of the year. What do you mean by that? By what? For this time of year. I keep trying to find out what's been bothering her, but she clams up as soon as I broach the subject. Then last night she said, let me guess, she won't tell you because she can't trust you. And now you're crushed because you thought the two of you were so much more than she seems to think, right? More or less. How the heck did you know? Sal, I'm the nurse. It's my job to know these things. Plus, I've known Emmy for long enough to know that she'd try to do something like this. It's just like her. He says this in the sort of half-affectionate, half-frustrated tone that would seem more appropriate if he had a cigarette dangling from his lips. As it is, he seems willing to make do with a pen. Look, you mind if I give you some advice? I mean, we're kind of hopelessly spinning our wheels here, so anything is better than nothing. At least it's a new angle to look at. What was it Muto said yesterday? If you can't observe the thing, then observe what's going around it. Well, the nurse sure is around Emmy. Worth a shot. The nurse knows Emmy better than I do, I'll wager. Sure, I'm open to suggestions. Honestly, I'm kind of lost. I've got no idea how to deal with this. I never would have guessed. He grins while he says this. I think he's kidding. Look, here's the deal. Emmy is stubborn. You should know that by now, and if you don't, then you're pretty unobservant. But I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt here. I'm so grateful. Anyway, if she's decided that she doesn't want to talk about what happened, then she's not going to talk about what's happened. Has she said anything about what's been bothering her? Even a hint? Well, she did say she'd been having nightmares about the accident. Really? You're making progress then. That's good. Well, I guess I can fill you in on this without violating my strict non-interference policy when it comes to Emmy making stupid decisions. The anniversary of her accident is coming up soon. She gets depressed around this time because it was a pretty traumatic event considering what she lost. That's the other thing. She acted like she lost more than just her legs. What happened? I find it really weird that you can't piece it together. Whoa, nope, not going there. You'll have to ask someone else about that, because that's a whole can of worms I'm not about to open. If Emmy wants you to know, she'll tell you in her own time. You just gotta be patient, that's all. Why are you even helping me with all this? Because you're good for her. She trusts you even if you don't think she does. And you've got the best chance out of anyone at this school right now to help her through this time of year. She won't accept my help, but she might accept yours if you don't screw it up. Oh, great. That's not worrying. So don't screw it up, got it? I open my mouth to respond, but a knocking sound at the door interrupts me. Hey, you guys still in there? Just a moment, Emmy. Give us a sec. Get her pants back on. Oi! The door bursts open and Emmy glares knives at the nurse. Asshole! Didn't mean to get your hopes up. Hey, can we leave me out of this? Anyway, what's up, Emmy? Forget something? I try to take a more cheerful tone with her. No need to upset her. Two can play the everything's fine game. Actually, I forgot to ask you something. Oh, what's that? Do you want to come with me on a trip to my house? My mom's making dinner, and I thought you might want to join us. Well, of course I accept. Emmy punches the nurse in the arm playfully. Not you, idiot. You were over last week. I was talking to Hisao. Oh, how interesting, meeting the parents. I'd love to go, Emmy, thanks. The nurse raises an eyebrow, but says nothing. Great, I'll be in my room. Swing by after you shower and change into something clean, and we'll grab the bus. Sounds good. I'll see you in a bit. This time it's me who leans in for a quick kiss before darting off to my room. What an interesting development. I feel like the odds of being able to ascertain some degree of information from her mother might actually be feasible. Depends how you play it, I suppose. Maybe we're getting closer after all. Maybe Emmy's finally ready to open up a little. Or maybe she's just being polite and a free meal seems like a good way to apologize for last night. Great, now I can't decide whether to be excited, nervous, or depressed. I settle for a combination of all three and hop in the shower. It's just what you do. I personally feel that everybody feels a sort of a cocktail of emotions at all given moments in time. I'm on a bus. I don't think I like riding on buses. Actually, I think I prefer pretty comfortable saying this is a fact. They sway a lot, they smell funny, you can feel every bump in the road. Really not looking forward to this. Plus, Emmy's legs keep making a clanking sound that draws the attention of everyone else on the bus. She's in shorts again, and she's got long socks drawn up her prosthetics so they don't look so obviously false again. It doesn't stop the odd look or two every time her legs bump together with an audible clunk. I shift nervously in my seat, and Emmy raises an eyebrow questioningly. She doesn't seem to mind the stares. Either that, or she doesn't even notice that people are staring. I'm sure she's gotten her fill of odd looks before. After a certain amount of time, I doubt she'd notice anymore. Not that she'd ever tell me if I asked. Another fact is, I'm not just uncomfortable at the bus. Can't seem to come to terms with the fact that Emmy appears to be trying to bring me closer while at the same time pushing me away. The nurse said she trusts me even if it doesn't look like it, but I'm not sure I can trust the nurse. He's protective of Emmy just like I'm protective of Emmy, and I'd be likely to say something to make her look good if someone asked me about her. So he might just be doing that. Still, there was something about the way he seemed genuinely surprised that Emmy invited me along. Maybe last night talk helped more than I think, but I'm still worried. Meeting the parents is a big deal, right? Not that I haven't already met Emmy's mother, but that was just as an acquaintance. Now it's going to be as Emmy's boyfriend, with everything that implies. I can feel my heart pounding in my chest, an echo of that snow-covered afternoon that feels like it was so long ago that it might as well be another life entirely. Except that I didn't know what was going on. I also didn't have medication to help prevent things spiraling out of control. Come a long way in terms of my physical health, and for the second time today, I feel like I'll be able to live normally now, or at least as normally as possible. Now, if only I could manage my relationship as well as I've managed my heart, I'd be in great shape. Oi. Well, we're here. Emmy grabs my hand as soon as we've stepped off the bus. She starts heading down the street almost immediately. Come on, we got a couple blocks until my place. Huh? Oh, okay. I follow Emmy down the street, watching her confident stride. She's at a kind of a quick pace for just a walk. I guess she's anxious to get there. So, does your mom do this sort of thing often? Nah, not too frequently. Mom's never been much for playing hostess. Oh, yeah? Yeah, my dad was always the one pushing her to have people over. This suddenly an unprompted reference to her father catches me off guard. And from the look on Emmy's face, I'm not sure she meant to mention him. I think I've only heard him talk about him once. All I remember is that Emmy's mom told me that he wasn't around anymore. Oh, your mom prefers solitude? Emmy laughs, either from relief that I didn't ask about her father, or from finding my statement actually funny. Not at all. She's why I'm such an outgoing person, you know? She just prefers to be a guest rather than a hostess. It's less stressful that way, or so she says. Clearly, she's never had to meet her girlfriend's mother for dinner. Emmy giggles again and speaks in a teasing tone. Nervous as how? You shouldn't be, you know? It's not that big a deal. Just dinner at my house, that's all. Yeah, but have you ever brought home a boyfriend before? I confess that part of me dreads hearing the answer to this. I know very little of Emmy's past relationships. I don't even know if there were past relationships. I feel like it's always safe to just kind of assume. No, I guess I haven't. Hey, maybe this really is a big deal after all. Oh, good. Now I feel twice as nervous. Now, to tell the truth, I'm pretty happy to hear that I'm the first one. Maybe I've got something special after all. I mean, I feel like it would still be something special regardless of that fact. Regardless of any amount of relationships you may have had in the past, it doesn't make what you currently have not special. That's just my 2 cents anyway. Bolstered by this thought, I managed to calm down considerably by the time Emmy knocks on her front door. Hey, Ma, open up. We're here. Behold, it be she. The door swings open, and Miss Ibarazaki stands grinning at her daughter. The grin is still surprisingly similar to Emmy's. I'm never going to get used to that. You know, people normally wait for a few minutes before they start shouting at the door. And most mothers say hello to their daughters instead of scolding them right away. Ah, of course. Welcome home, dear. I've missed you. An affectionate hug later, we're inside, and it's only then that Emmy's mom seems to remember that I'm actually here. And hello to you too, Hisao. How are you? Quite well, thank you. Nice to not have to worry about school for a little bit. Ah, yeah. You finished up your exams, haven't you? That must be quite a relief for you both. Certainly a weight off my mind, that's for sure. Mine too. I think I slept well for the first time in weeks last night from relief alone. If this news is a surprise to Emmy's mother, she doesn't show it. Still, her response betrays a note of interest. Is that so? Very glad to hear that, Emmy. You know, I get worried when you get all wound up about, well, exams. Certainly Emmy's mother knows something I don't. Or rather, she doesn't know that Emmy told me about the nightmares. It's interesting being able to observe how Miss Ibarazaki covers for Emmy. The protective instinct to make sure that I don't know any more than Emmy's willing to tell me. I suppose Emmy's got more in common with Quarks than I ever realized. Moves around fast, impossible to understand through direct observation, yet she has an effect on everyone she encounters. I wonder if Miss Ibarazaki will figure out that I know about the nightmares, or is she just keeping everything secret from everybody? Yeah, it's not been as bad this year as in the past. This will help me to stay focused. Okay, I know that's not true. She even cut off contact outside of school hours during exam week. But she did see me during the day, and she told me more than once that the morning run was the only thing she looked forward to during exams, so maybe it's not that much of a lie. Either way, to hear that being around has helped even a little makes me feel a little better. Emmy's mother raises an eyebrow at this statement. Either she doesn't believe Emmy, or she's as surprised as I am. Well, then it appears that it's a good thing you two have become so close. I tell you to take good care of my daughter, Sal, but it looks like you're already doing that. Emmy grins at this and seems to take pride in my having managed to integrate myself with her mother so easily. Actually, I'd say your daughter's been the one taking care of me. She's gotten me out and running. I've probably been more active since meeting her than I've ever was even before. I'd actually never thought of it that much, nor had I appreciated the humor in it. I wasn't too active before the heart attack. Pickup games of soccer don't really count since they weren't that common. So now that I know for sure that I have a weak heart, now I run every day, pushing my luck with the help of my medication. I chuckle quietly, then realize that I never finished my sentence. Well, before I had my heart attack and wound up at school here. It comes out so casually. There was a time that I would have thought twice about talking about what was wrong with me at all. But now it just seems silly to care, especially in the company of Emmy and her mother. If Emmy can be cavalier about her disability, then so can I. I think back to the track meet where Emmy declared herself the fastest thing on no legs. The fact of her obvious loss has never seemed to bother her, at least not in public. Being stuck in the wheelchair frustrated her, I know, but even that was something she dealt with on her own despite my efforts to the contrary. Emmy has a way of bringing out the more active side in people. I've never quite figured out how she does it. Those puppy dog eyes she gets, for starters. I'm not surprised that she managed to rope you into an exercise routine. If Rin wasn't just as stubborn as she is, I'm sure Emmy would have gotten her out and running with her too. Oh, that reminds me. Rin says hello. As she do. I drift to the outer edges of the conversation as we move into the dining room to eat. It smells delicious in here, and the spread that Emmy's mom has produced is impressive. Oh, you made enough to feed an army in here. Is it too much? Well, you can always take some leftovers with you when you go. Sounds great. I can only handle cafeteria food for so long. Something home-cooked would be a welcome change of pace. What he said. Thanks, Ma. The food tastes as good as it smells, and there's a lull in the conversation while we all dig in. Emmy assaults her plate with the usual amount of gusto, and I will admit that I set a pretty fast pace myself. You've both become... She's always been a big eater, and you've definitely learned to start doing the same. So, Sal, I heard that you and my daughter have gotten rather close. The urge to say something like, not really, so strong that I opened my mouth to say it, but then reassert control. We are close. There's no getting around it. I mean, Emmy brought me here, hasn't she? Fortunately, both Emmy and her mother seem to take my reaction as a sign that I'm caught off guard rather than considering saying something cruel. I suppose we have. I blame the morning runs myself. Make it sound like a bad thing, Sal. Well, I, for one, found it a relief. Why's that? Emmy's always been a popular girl, but she never made many close friends. That's a bit of a news to me. I always see Emmy chatting with her classmates in the hallways. And certainly the whole track team seems to love her. But it is true that she chooses to isolate herself during lunch with Rin and me. Not exactly the sort of behavior one expects from a popular girl, after all. Then again, I've experienced her unwillingness to get close firsthand, so I can't say that I'm that surprised. I was beginning to have my doubts. Emmy rolls her eyes to the ceiling and grumbles something I can't quite make out. Huh? What? What was that you just said? Nothing. Miss Ibarazaki chokes her drink down with laughter. You've been hanging out with the nurse too long, Emmy. I'm gonna have to talk to him about corrupting my daughter. Somehow I don't think that would be very effective. I learned most of it from you anyway, not the nurse. Don't listen to her, Sal. She's a born liar. Yeah, right. I don't know, Emmy. I think your mother has a point. What? You're a traitor! You're supposed to take my side in this. Yeah, whoa! You did lay it after your leg after the... Ow! A kick in the shins from an unmistakably plastic foot cuts me off, but not before Miss Ibarazaki's eyebrows shoot upwards. What about your leg? It wasn't a big deal, that's all. I was just in a wheelchair, forget about it. The last few mumbled words are quickly deciphered by Emmy's mother. I suspect she has experience with this sort of thing, and a worried frown on her face. So that's why he kept dodging my calls. Oh, Emmy, I know how much you hate being in a wheelchair. No wonder you're in such a mood lately. Yeah, she's much happier on her feet, so to speak. Well, of course, she spent enough time in a chair just after the accident. She didn't get prosthetics immediately? No, she had to finish healing up before they'd let her start that sort of therapy. You gotta go through to adjust to those things, especially since she wanted to run on them. I had no idea. Yeah, it sucked. Oh, did you see Rin's mural art at the festival? Emmy's sudden change of topic makes me realize belated that she's been fidgeting this whole time and her mother and I have been talking. I should have figured on her being a little skittish when it comes to talking about the accident, even around her mother. No, I didn't make it out to the festival, remember? Although I caught a glimpse of it at the track meet. It seemed pretty weird to me. I think that more or less is what she was going for. She talked a lot about it being dreamlike, or trying to make it dreamlike. Rin's art is one of those things I don't think I'll ever understand. That's not surprising. I don't think Rin expects to be understood. She told me once that art allows people to understand stuff they wouldn't understand otherwise. But all the same, she doesn't think it actually works that way. I'm surprised that Emmy talked about this with Rin extensively enough to actually have Rin's opinion, such as it is. Although I expect that Rin could not, if she were so inclined, say the same thing about Emmy's. Yeah, I guess so. It's hard to say with her, it really is. Unless, of course, Emmy is purposely keeping me in the dark about everything, which is likely, but unpleasant to think about, so we're going to try to not to. I drift down this unpleasant train of thought for a while, losing track of the conversation. Hey, Emmy, I've been meaning to ask. Huh? Are you going to visit your father this year? From the way she says it, you'd think Emmy's mother was talking about the weather. From the way Emmy reacts, it's clearly not the weather they're talking about. She flinches, a slight jerk of the head backwards as if she'd just been slapped in the face. Can we talk about this later? Her voice sounds brittle, strained. It looks as if she's been severely shaken by the question. It seems that Miss Ibarazaki misjudged just how close Emmy and I are. Some things, it seems, are best not conversed about with me or around. Her father is one of those things. The accident that took her legs is probably another one of those things. If her reaction to the earlier conversation between her mother and myself is any indication. It doesn't take Emmy's mother long to realize she's screwed up. Oh boy. Of course we can, dear. I'm sorry to bring it up. I just wanted to ask so I can make plans. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Emmy fidgets nervously as if embarrassed by her own reaction. I confess that her reaction is confusing. She only just mentioned her father to me earlier today, less than a few hours ago even. Why is a simple question about when she'll visit her father cause such a strong reaction? Unless whatever serenity she claimed to have reached by means of our talk the previous evening had suddenly evaporated. Or it didn't help as much as she thought, or claimed. Whatever comes first, I guess. I'll, be right back. Gotta visit the little girl's room. Emmy gets up suddenly and leaves the table, leaving me and Miss Ibarazaki alone. I'm a little conflicted. Should I go after her, or should I stay here? It's obvious that Emmy's departure was not based on the call of nature. Something's bothering her, and I have to know what it is. How to go about it? Oh, boy. Well, if we're going to be going off the same strategy that we've been doing so far up to this point, it's all about approaching things from different angles, right? I mean, I did get a lot of good information out of the nurse. I'm sure her mom will be willing to tell me something, at least. Here's hoping. There's an awkward silence at the table for a while after Emmy dashes off. I can't think of anything to say. Emmy's mother sighs, breaking the silence. Sorry about that, Hisao. I sometimes forget that Emmy's touchy about certain subjects. And I was talking about the wheelchair thing, too. Should I go after her? Heavens, no. She didn't leave the table to continue the conversation, you know. But if she's troubled, shouldn't someone help her? If it were anyone else, I'd say yes, but my daughter is stubborn as a mule. And if she wants to be alone, it's best to let her be alone. Well, now I feel suddenly a whole lot better about not going after her. Otherwise, she'll probably say something she'd regret, which would cause you to say something you'd regret, and I'd prefer that dinner doesn't end with one or the both of you storming out of the house. If that were to happen, I'd be a terrible hostess, wouldn't I? I've already acted as a fool once today. That's okay. I shouldn't have brought up the wheelchair, apparently. Miss Ibarazaki frowns, clearly more bothered by Emmy's omission than she'd let on. I wish she wouldn't do that. It just makes me worry more, you know? She does this often? What, running off to the bathroom? No, I can't say she does. Keep injuries from her mother, though? That's a little more common. Every time I catch her lying like that, she assures me that the only reason she didn't tell me is because it wasn't a big deal. If it's any consolation, I'm sure the only reason I knew about it at all was because I saw her every day. This elicits a dry chuckle from across the table. Mrs. Ibarazaki sighs, a little sadly. Still hesitant about getting close to people, huh? I keep hoping that she'll get over that. It's funny, really. She bounced back so well from the accident in so many ways. I guess some things never really go away. From the looks of it, the whole thing still bothers her, too. She seems to be a little more willing to talk about the accident without Emmy around, though. Hey, I've got a question if it's all right. Oh? What else did Emmy lose in that accident? The nurse said that she gets this way near the anniversary, and she won't talk to me about it. So you thought I'd fill you in, yeah, hopefully. Well, there's a problem with that request, you know. Let me guess. You promised Emmy that you wouldn't tell anyone she didn't want to know, and you don't know if she wants me to know. Something like that. I promised Emmy that she'd be the one to tell people the full story. But isn't that important? It's clearly had a huge effect on her, and she still liked this so long after the accident happened. That's true. It did have long-lasting effect on her. There are a few things that she'll probably never really get over. For a moment, Mrs. Abarazaki looked incredibly saddened, as if an old wound is bothering her. I suppose there are a few things I'll never really get over either. Another dry chuckle. With a shake of her head, Emmy's mother banishes the memory. Look, there's something you must absolutely understand about the way Emmy thinks about the accident. What's that? It wasn't a big deal. Somehow I managed to keep my mouth from falling open in surprise, but it takes some effort. That has to be the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I beg your pardon? Okay, maybe it's not that simple, but it's a pretty accurate summation. Emmy believes that the accident did not define her, and that everything she lost that day didn't define her either. She's not that girl who lost her legs. She's the fastest thing on no legs. Her optimism and energy come out of that wreck without a scratch, as far as she's concerned. Yet it goes beyond that, doesn't it? I mean, last night she told me that she refused to rely on me because it would make losing me too painful. Not really. You said she won't tell you about the accident, even though you asked her about it before. The reason she won't talk about it when you ask is because to her, it's not something you absolutely need to know. Even if she wasn't terrified of getting too close to anyone, she still wouldn't talk about it. She's afraid of being close to me? Oh, goodness me, yes. For all that talk about being unscathed by the accident, she gained the ugly knowledge of how quickly it can all be over. So she's not going to let people get especially close to her, and she certainly would resent any implication that she can't work through this on her own. I get the overwhelming impression that if I went after her, we would have gotten into a hell of a fight. Whew! Okay, well, if that's the truth, I am glad we avoided it. But I don't think she can. Oh, no? Are you sure you've been dating my daughter and not someone else? Trust me, Asao, she could get through it on her own. But she has nightmares and can't sleep well, and she does this every year. Tell me, if she wasn't able to get through it on her own, do you really think she'd still be alive? Jesus, she would have killed herself for something equally melodramatic. Okay, I mean, that's one way to look at it. So what, I shouldn't try to help her? I didn't say that. I hate seeing my daughter like this, and knowing that she could rely on someone else would let me relax. You just need to understand that accepting help goes against everything Emmy thinks about herself and the way the world works. If you still want to offer her help, then I guess that's your call. Honestly, I'd like you to, but it'd be silly not to warn you that it's not gonna be that easy. You just need to be patient with her. She's already closer to you than anyone else she's ever met at Yamaku. Well, sure doesn't feel like we're very close. Good. That makes this part easier. Oh, God. Emmy's voice nearly gives me a heart attack. Well, you didn't hear it come back, Emmy. How convenient. Were you eavesdropping? Nope. Just happened to come back at the right moment, I guess. Emmy, Hisao was just... Oh, boy. Emmy holds up a finger, cutting her mother off. I am indeed frightened. On his way out of the house? Yeah, I know. Emmy's trembling with anger now, looking vaguely betrayed. Oh, no. I messed up. Emmy, don't be ridiculous. We were just... You promised. The pain carried in that last word is almost too much for me to bear. The idea that I could hurt her that much is like being kicked in the gut. Emmy's mother looks similarly pained by the thought. And I kept that promise. Just listen, there's no reason to go throw people... I'm sorry, I'm quite flustered. To go throwing people out of the house. Emmy's mother seems to be both angry at her daughter's outburst and embarrassed that I'm witness to it. There's only one real solution to the problem, I think. It's okay. I'll go. No, really, that seems a little unnecessary. Don't worry about it. Thank you for dinner, Mrs. Abarazaki, and for the advice. It's my pleasure, Sal. I'm sorry we didn't get to the dessert. That's okay. I have to watch what I eat anyway. Good evening, Emmy, Miss Abarazaki. The formality of our conversation, coupled with the fact that I'm getting ready to leave, Seems to snap Emmy out of her anger. No, wait, I'm sorry, I've been so... And after last night, I just thought... You don't have to go, I take it back, it's okay. I can't help but smile slightly. She can barely articulate her apology, and I really would like to stay. But I don't think I can right now. I need to think about what her mother said, and about what I'm going to do about us. I don't want to risk accidentally getting Emmy angry again in her current state, either. No. I think I'd better leave. You seem pretty shook up, and well, I'd only wind you up trying to help you again. I know you prefer I didn't, so I'm gonna leave instead. But, hey, it's not a problem. You don't want a night on a white Charger, right? Just promise me one thing, okay? What? Don't be angry at your mom, okay? She was just giving me some advice, that's all. Emmy nods hesitantly, like the simple idea is all that she can grab onto at this point. She's so terribly off balance, but I can't do anything about that right now. Okay. See you tomorrow, okay? Running in the morning, don't forget. I can see that I've hurt Emmy by deciding to leave, but there's nothing I can do for her as things stand. And I know that she's too stubborn to admit that she wants me to stick around. I watch various emotions cross Emmy's face as she tries to process everything that just happened. I do somehow feel like it would have gone worse if I had chosen the other option, so I think it's okay. Shortly comes that calm look again, like last night, and that voice that tries so hard to sound careless. Sure, Hasao. See you around. Both of us are unwilling to concede emotion at this point, and I'm having a hard time keeping up my facade, so I turn on my heel and walk out the door. I shut it behind me slowly, pausing for a moment as the latch catches my hand on the doorknob. Did I make the right decision just now? Should I have stayed and tried to work things out? No, I decide. Not in front of her mother like that. In spite of everything, I'd rather keep Emmy's mother insulated from that sort of anger that surfaced last night. Even though she's probably used to it, some protective instinct wants me to keep Emmy's image as a cheerful girl intact. With a start, I realize my hand is still resting on the knob. I take my hand away, put it in my pocket, and head down the slowly darkening street. I don't know if it was the right idea or not. I can only say that I don't think we did a terrible thing. I let out a long breath. The wait until tomorrow morning comes isn't going to be easy. In any case, I have to think on what to say to Emmy. I must apologize, and I must get through to her somehow. On that account, something has been on my mind for most of the way back to my room. The letter of apology from Owanako. I was so concerned about my new life when I received it that I didn't even bother to really read it. Now that I find myself in a similar position, my curiosity got rekindled. What'd she want to let me know so badly? If nothing else, reading her thoughts might help me frame mine. I remember tossing it away. Damn, where did I throw that thing? I think it went under the nightstand. I check under my desk, that turns up nothing, so I look for harder to reach, more unlikely locations. Well, now I know where that lost sock went, at least. Still no letter, though. It's when I try sweeping my arm under my nightstand that I feel something crinkly jammed between it and the wall. Grunting a little with the effort, I reach for my prize and soon manage to bring it into the light. Bingo! Ho ho ho! I sit at my desk and spread the crumpled paper open. A flick turns on the table light. Skipping past the empty pleasantries, I look for the point where I stopped reading. Ah, here it is. There are other things I want to say. I'm writing to you because I felt that there are things I should have said after the incident back in winter. I really regret that I wasn't able to say them in person, and I have no excuse for it. The truth is, the times when I visited you at the hospital made me worried about you. I'm not talking about your health. You seem to become more distant and disheartened. It was natural after something like that happened, I'm sure, but somehow I got the feeling that you had given up on something back then. Happiness, maybe? Giving up on happiness. This sounds unpleasantly familiar. I wanted to somehow express my feelings, but the right words didn't come to me. I couldn't say anything to comfort you. I am really sorry for not being able to support you when it mattered the most. Even though I like you so much. At least now I can finally be more honest. If I could go back to those quiet days in February and March, I'd tell you not to give up on yourself. That's what I would say. Maybe you wouldn't have drifted so far if I had just said something. I hope you've managed to get back on your own feet. Now the distance between us is also physical, it also feels more final, somehow. I wonder if we'll meet again. Perhaps it's for the best if we don't. Still, if you would like to correspond with me, by all means write me back. I'd very much like to hear about your new school and how you're doing. I wish you all the best. Sincerely, Owanako. After finishing reading the letter, I smooth it out carefully and set it aside on my desk. Thank you, Owanako. I wanted to answer yes to your question on that snowy winter day, but I never got to. By the time we met again, it was too late. Or Or so I thought. What would have happened if I had behaved differently back in that dismally sterile hospital room? I'm sorry. There's no point in wondering now, but there's no point in trying to forget either. I am who I am because of all that happened to me and all I look forward to experience. Present, future, and past. And that past just may have taught me an important lesson now. Well, color me like every different kind of fascinated. I really love these sketchy drawings, by the way. They're really good. Kudos to the artists. I'm really enthralled with this story. I'm not going to lie. I want to just keep playing. I want to keep going. I want to read more. I'm not able to make a ton of jokes, and I know, but, like, I don't know. Despite the awkward little hiccup there in the middle there, this is a good story, and I really want to see it through. I'm not sure how super crazily amazing of an experience it is for you guys, but hey, I'm having fun. The sound of my alarm is an unwelcome intrusion on a sleep that's been a battle to obtain. I bet I've been truly asleep for more than an hour or two. Too much on my mind. Did I make the right choice leaving the house yesterday? Did I manage to get Emmy to realize how unreasonable she's been? Am I ever going to manage to get her to stop being unreasonable? Emmy's mom gave me a new perspective the other day, but I'm still not sure that it's the right perspective. She was hurt when I left yesterday, too. I know that part of any conversation is going to have to include an apology about that. Right thing to do or not, I hurt her. I hurried down to the track, eager to talk to Emmy. I think I know what to say. Apologize for leaving first and go ahead from there. Here's hoping we can find her. Unless, of course, Emmy doesn't show up. That's the real problem and concern. Which, from the looks of things, seems like it's the case. It's been about 15 minutes since I got here, and there's no sign of her. She's never late. Not unless she's sick, which is unlikely. She probably just doesn't want to see me right now. To take my mind off what that implies, I begin my warm-up routine and take off around the track. It clears my mind wonderfully. For the half hour I'm running, I don't think about anything but the run. However, once I'm finished and Emmy still hasn't shown up, I get a little worried. With any luck, the nurse will know where she is. If nothing else, I can see what he thinks I should do next. So, last night didn't go too well, I take it. Huh? You already know? I have my ways. And it's not as if I'd missed the distinct absence of your running partner this morning, now would I? No, I suppose not. So, what happened? Don't you know already? Maybe, but I could be bluffing. Perhaps I'd prefer to get your side of the story before I give any advice. I quickly fill the nurse in on the events of last night, and he takes it all in without changing expression once. Nothing about the whole event seems to surprise him. Oh, he does seem surprised when I say I didn't follow Emmy. Chose to talk to her mom instead, huh? Smart move, though. I guess it didn't work out too well for you in the end. I'm not sure. Emmy seemed apologetic when I left, or at least she seemed that way until she put up her defenses again. The nurse sighs and spreads his hands in a consolatorial gesture. Frankly, I'm surprised she let them down at all. Emmy's had a lot of practice on that score. You probably won't get anything else out of her. I don't believe you. Is that so? You think she'll tell you the whole tale? I swear, I just saw the nurse's eyes glitter a little. His expression is the same, but he leans forward ever so slightly. I think she'll opens up if I ask her without being an idiot about it, yeah. The nurse gives his enigmatic smile in response and shrugs widely. I think he's enjoying his role a little too much. That's the real trick, isn't it? Are you sure you know the right way to approach the subject? I can't guarantee that Emmy's going to be trying her hardest to pretend last night didn't happen. It'll be painfully awkward for the both of you, but it'll also be a lot safer than trying to ask her for the whole story again. Could go worse this time. Are you ready for something like that? Sounds like a challenge. Like he doesn't believe for a minute that I'd be so bold. I actually feel a little insulted by his lack of confidence in me. Of course I'm ready for that. I love her. My outburst gets a raised eyebrow in response. Well then. Good luck. Let me know how it all turns out. Although he delivers his parting shot with the same smirk as usual, I actually think that the nurse wants me to succeed. I resist the urge to charge directly to Emmy's room to prove the nurse wrong. I've gone in half-cocked before, and the results were less than stellar. If I'm going to do this, I need to figure out exactly what I'm going to say and how I'm going to say it. Something to think about in class. Much more so than actual class itself. Sure enough, by the time lunch rolls around, I think I have a good enough idea of what to say. I can do this. Can we, though? I hope so. The bell rings, and I grab my lunch and dash up the stairs, eager to be there first. I'll need to ask when to leave, and I'll need to... Uh-oh. Hi, Sal. Sorry, I wasn't able to run with you this morning. I overslept. Somehow both Emmy and Rin have managed to get to the roof before me. Oh, that's no problem. Last night was kind of draining, I guess. Emmy's expression doesn't alter in the slightest. Yeah, sorry about that, but I've had such a weird morning since then. Oh, really? Emmy proceeds to make small talk for the rest of the time. I can barely get a word in edgewise, and soon I find myself interjecting with the sort of back-and-forth dialogue that seems to have defined our early relationship. I'm not going to get anywhere on this problem during lunch, obviously. I can respect that. Emmy obviously doesn't want to accidentally pull Rin into things, and that's fine. Not that I think Rin would notice, but I can at least respect that sort of rationale. I try a different tactic. Hey, Emmy, what are you up to after class today? I was thinking we could go somewhere for dinner or something. Emmy looks genuinely remorseful. Sorry, Hisao. I promised the track captain that I'd stick around after practice and help some of the other kids with their form. It'll have to be some other time. Yeah, sure. I'm honestly not sure what to do now. Maybe diving into things the day after would be a bad idea anyway. She might still be angry about it and just not showing it. Besides, she's got track team responsibilities. That's fine, right? I tell myself some variation on this theme the next day. Then the next. I wake up, run with Emmy, during which she refuses to talk about anything but the run and what she was doing the night before. And then lunch, where we sit, make small talk until the bell rings. Her new responsibilities effectively keep me from seeing her outside of school. Maybe, just maybe, I'm letting it happen because it's safer this way, just like the nurse said. Except, while it may be safer, I'm feeling more and more wretched. Emmy doesn't look good when I see her anymore. Dark circles lurk under her eyes. She seems more and more distracted, and I can't bring myself to just ask what's wrong, because the timing never seems right. I'm absolutely miserable. Come on! Come on, I want a happy ending! Make it work, you crazy kids! Do the thing! Another lunch comes. I trudge up the stairs to the rooftop like a condemned man. Rin is up there, but Emmy is not. Immediately, I worry that something's happened to her. Maybe the lack of sleep finally made her collapse or something worse. She seemed pretty tired after her morning run. Maybe she fell asleep and didn't even make it to class. Hey, Rin. Where's Emmy? In response, I get a rather penetrating look from Rin. Something approaching a frown appears on her face. Is that information really important? I think so. She's usually here with you, isn't she? I don't know. I have no way of being sure. I can confirm that she is, in fact, usually here with you when I come up. Well, she isn't now. Does that worry you? Kind of. That seems to end the conversation, and the point becomes moot anyway, because Emmy bounds through the door with her usual energy. Hisao's kind of worried about you, Emmy. I don't think he can decide, or maybe I just don't believe him, but I think I'm going to go somewhere less awkward now. Well, goddamn, Rin. I'm so surprised by Rin being so suddenly forward about, well, anything at all that I merely watch her head through the door. Emmy is similarly surprised and colors slightly crimson as she stares open-mouthed at me. It occurs to me that I should probably say something, if only to break the awkward silence that has suddenly descended. It's because you weren't here yet. I was, worried about it. Why? You're usually here, so I was worried that something had happened to you. This isn't the first time that I've been late, you know. Did you get worried all the other times, too? Not really. Emmy seems slightly amused by this. I don't know why, but that kind of pisses me off. So, why was this time an exception? Maybe it's the light, teasing tone of the question, but something in her response pushes me to be honest. I can't help snapping at her when I said it. Because you've been worrying me since dinner at your house, that's why. Well, now it's out in the open. And Emmy's eyes are wide and she looks like she wants to bolt. But she doesn't. Ah, still on then, I see. What, you think I'm supposed to just forget about it? You threw me out of your house. We've been going on for almost a week pretending it never happened. I didn't see you bringing it up either, you know. I know, and I'm sorry that was the case. We have to address it or we'll just keep this whatever it is we've got right now. It's killing me to look at how you look right now. Did you know that? The circles under your eyes and that distracted look in them. And I can't help worrying that I've caused it somehow. You haven't. Trust me. Well, I haven't helped either. I keep pushing you to tell me things you aren't ready to tell me. Maybe I was wrong trying to get your mother to help me out. But I've been so worried about you that I didn't know what else to do. Well, you don't have to worry about me anymore, okay? I think it's pretty clear we're not right for each other, so maybe we should just stop. Wow, that actually really, really hurts my guts. Her face is twisted up as she says this. Like she doesn't want to say it, but forces herself to anyway. You don't actually want that, do you? Like you can barely bring yourself to say it. Anyway, it won't keep me from worrying about you. I care about you too much to just stop on command. You don't want to tell me what's wrong, that's fine. But I won't stop trying to help you, even if it's just by standing by you. Stop saying that. She's shaking now, and she looks at me as she looks at me. I can see she's afraid and frustrated and a million different things all at once. I shake my head slowly and take a few steps toward her. You know what your mom told me? She told me that you'd never ask for help because you know that you're strong enough to get through anything on your own. But that's not the full story, is it? Her eyes go wide and she takes a step back. I keep going because I think I finally figured it out. Something tells me I won't get another shot. I put it off far, far too long as it is. There's no harm in having someone help you, unless you're worried about needing help in the first place. You're scared, aren't you? Because of... I trail off because I don't know for certain what happened to Emmy's father, and I don't want to jump to a conclusion. Well, never mind why, but it's okay to be afraid. You've been running from it and from me for so long, even though you know eventually you have to turn around and face your fear, and I'm gonna be there to help you when you do. I won't stop because I don't think you'd want me to. You can understand that sort of determination, can't you? I can see that I've gotten through to her, but she quickly falls back to anger to try and push me away again. Back on your white charger, Hisao? Gotta help the poor cripple face her emotional problems? What do you know about me and about what I've already had to face? You think 2 months of learning to walk again was fun? But I did it, and after I did that, I had to... For a moment, it seems as if she's going to say something else, but she cuts herself off. And after all that, you don't think you can get past your fear? Emmy, I can't fathom what you've been through. But to come through it and still be the sort of girl that you are, well, it makes me think that you have even more strength than you think. So I'm not going to help you because I think you need rescuing. I don't want to be a knight rescuing the damsel in distress, but even knights help each other out. You know. I want to help you, even though I know you can do it on your own. For a moment, it looks like Emmy's going to break down completely, but she doesn't. Tears run down her face, but she stares at me steadily. Why are you trying so hard to help me? I'd say that it's because I owe you one for helping me out when we first met, but that wouldn't be the truth. The truth is, I just want you to be happy because I love you. Had I ever said that before? We've been in a relationship, and it's been pretty obvious that I love her, but did I ever actually speak those words? What did you say? I say it again, savoring the feeling of being able to say it at all, being able to say it and mean it. Emmy seems stunned. I said I love you, Emmy. I love you. Just you. That makes me want to stand by you no matter what you had to face. I'm wrapped in a fierce hug then, as Emmy begins to sob against my chest. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry about everything, but I'm so scared, Hisao. I'm so scared of losing you, and I love you too, but I just can't lose you. I'm so sorry. I hold her quietly, shushing her until she settles down. Ugh. She steps back a little more composed. Will you come with me tomorrow? Back to my house? There are some things I need to show you, if I'm going to do this. Of course. Maybe this time we can leave together instead of separately. Emmy grins. A sudden flash of brightness that seems more genuine than anything I'd seen in the past week. Yeah, maybe. The lunch bell rings and I curse the universe's poor sense of timing. Are you free tonight? We can talk more then, right? Emmy shakes her head. Sorry, Sal, but I'm still helping the track team. Plus, I don't think it would be good if we talked this over tonight. I'm gonna be too tired to think properly, and I want to be able to tell you everything without screwing it up. You can wait, right? Even now, there's a bit of fear in her voice. I smile and I rest a hand on her shoulder. Okay, I'll be waiting. Emmy gives me a quick kiss before she heads for the stairwell. Thanks, Asao. See you tomorrow morning. Wouldn't miss it. I really love this story a lot. I head down the stairs with the feel of her lips on mine, suddenly aware of how much I've missed that sensation. I'll have to remember to thank Rin for getting us to talk to one another. Although it's possible she won't even realize what she did. Still, if not for her, I doubt I would have been able to confront Emmy again. I guess I needed more help than I realized. Sometimes getting help isn't a thing, you know? Tomorrow, however, I'll need to stand alone through whatever Emmy's trying to work herself up to doing. I'll be up to the task, I hope. I want these two to make it work so badly. This is... Oh, I want them to be happy. Okie dokie. Rise and shine. The morning sun is bright through my open window, and the sound of my alarm quickly has me up and about. I slept surprisingly well last night, secure in the knowledge that at least I've got another chance with Emmy. If I can just keep myself from doing anything stupid, maybe I'll find out what's been eating her recently. I have a few educated guesses, but nothing concrete. And certainly nothing that I'm going to say to her. I'd much prefer to have her tell me herself. Although I can't help remembering the nurse warning me that I might not like what she has to say. Do I really need to know that badly? If you really want to conceivably spend the rest of your life with this girl, I think you do. What if it's something awful that makes me repulsed by her? Can I really say that I'm prepared to handle whatever she has to say, regardless of what it is? What could she possibly have said? Really? Unless she ate her dad, I don't see that happening, dude. Emmy said she wanted to tell me without screwing it up. What the hell did she mean by that? What's there to screw up? I suppose there's not much worrying about it, though. I'll find out today. It occurs to me that I really, really need a run this morning to clear my head, if nothing else. Emmy is waiting for me as promised, looking a little haggard, but otherwise bright and cheerful, much more so than any previous day this week. Miss Hal, you're late. I wave my hand dismissively. Nonsense, you're just early. Emmy grins back, and it feels like we're finally back where we should be with one another. Except now, Emmy, not just me, wants to take another step forward. Although a part of me worries that she'll back out at the last second. Hurry up and stretch us, Al. I don't want to miss the bus. The bus? I said I wanted you to come back to my house, remember? And I promised Mom we'd be there in time for lunch, so I wanted to hurry. Early start, huh? It's more for my mom's benefit than anything else. Well, that's okay. I unsuccessfully try to guess what Emmy has planned shortly before realizing that it doesn't really matter that much to me. Oh, the happy bounce. I quickly go through my warm-up routine while Emmy bounces impatiently from one foot to the other. She really does seem to want to get moving as soon as possible. The run is over so quickly I can barely believe that I haven't fallen over dead afterwards. Emmy set a blistering pace, and I, and my foolishness, kept up with her. Well, until the last few laps, I had to slow down just in case. But I don't mind, and Emmy's waiting patiently for me when I finish. As patiently as she can wait, anyway. Finished? Good. Come on! Grabbing my arm, she practically rushes me down to the nurse's office. Seem in a hurry, Emmy? Trying to catch the early bus? Yeah, I told my mom I'd be back for lunch. Well, I'll take care of you first, then. But Esao's gotta come with me, too. The nurse raises a single eyebrow at this statement and peers at the two of us searchingly. Really? Today, huh? Emmy's response is a nod, followed by a surprisingly shy grin. Well then, we'll make this quick. Emmy enters the nurse's office, and I patiently wait outside for her to be finished, wondering just why the nurse seemed to be surprised by Emmy's declaration. I think today might actually be the anniversary of said incident. I feel like I'm missing out on some joke or the significance of today, beyond the fact that it's clearly significant in some way, of course. True to his word, the nurse had Emmy out of his office surprisingly quickly, and I take her place after promising to meet up the front gate. The nurse takes my pulse and listens for a bit. Your heartbeat's faster than usual. Been pushing yourself again, have you? Well, Emmy seemed to be in a rush to get through the run, so I'm not surprised. Today's rather important to her, you know. I suspected that could be the case, but I have no idea why that's the case. She hasn't told you? Interesting. So you're not going to tell me either, then? No, I'm not. I suspect that Emmy has her own plan for explaining today to you, and I don't want to mess with that. You'll find out soon enough, so what's the rush? Now, as for your heart, I would take it easy the rest of the day. No spontaneous races or anything like that. Got it? Got it. She won't have her running legs on anyway, right? No, but if you think something like that is going to stop her, good point. I don't think it'll be much of an issue today of all days, but still. If he's trying to reassure me, he's doing a terrible job. I'm quickly becoming more and more worried about what today could be for, like suddenly finding out Emmy is in a cult or something. At the same time, if today is such a big deal and Emmy wants me to be with her for it, then maybe she really does want to grow closer to me. Maybe this will be the answer to all the riddles, to the sleepless nights and the sudden mood swings. Dare to dream. Either way, I barely remember to thank the nurse before taking off as quickly as I dare from my room, to get a shower and throw on some decent-looking clothes. If today is as important as it seems to be, I should dress appropriately. Emmy, of course, proves me wrong as soon as I reach the front gate wearing her usual shirt and shorts, so at least I know it's not a terribly formal affair, whatever it is. You're early, Hassel. Not as early as you. Eager, are we? Emmy cheekily pokes out her tongue. The bus stop isn't very crowded at this hour, which seems to please Emmy, and we end up relaxing a little as we wait. We sit in silence for a while, but I can tell that Emmy's trying to work herself up to say something. I don't have anything to say myself, so I sit waiting for her to talk. It doesn't take too long. So, I'm sure you're curious as to why the nurse thought it was so weird for me to be bringing you along today. I was a bit yes, but if you're not ready to tell me... Emmy stops my sentence by placing a finger on my lips. Don't tempt me, Hisao. I want to tell you this, but I'm just uncertain as to how to go about it. I don't want to keep delaying or deferring. I just want to be able to say it. So say it. You know that it's not going to be that easy for me, Hisao. So treat it like running. Warm up to it with something small and easy and go from there. But don't do it too fast, okay? I'm a patient man. I can wait for you to get to it. Emmy seems to consider my words, weighing them against what is probably a desire to get it over with. I will admit, as much as I keep telling Emmy to take her time, I wouldn't mind her getting it over with either. But somehow I know that Emmy probably needs more time than the bus ride will provide to get it all out, whatever it is. Yeah, maybe you're right. The bus stop probably isn't the best place for this anyway. But just make sure that I don't go back on my word. I'll at least say this. She takes a deep breath, lets it out, and after a moment says in a low voice, "We're going to see my dad today." The words hang in the air, and I can see that Emmy's afraid that I'll panic and disappear in response, which a part of me almost wants to do. But it would be stupid of me to back out or to suddenly abandon the promise I made to be there for Emmy when she needs me. The nurse thought it was so weird of her to bring me along. Doesn't bring anyone along. Or at least I'm willing to bet that she hasn't before today. The day seems to take on an even greater significance. What does it take an Emmy to even get this far? Ah. And why is that the best I can manage as a response? Yeah. I don't know what I should say. Nothing, I think. Just promise that you're gonna come with me. Of course, you know I will. Emmy smiles wanly, looking a little relieved. Good. In that case, we'd better get going. The bus pulls up just a little after she finishes the sentence. Vague memories of my first trip out here comes to mind as I step off the bus, but unfortunately they're too vague to be of any use. I'll be the first to admit that I don't quite recall how to get to Emmy's house, so I let her lead the way. Might want to burn it into your mind a little. She seems content to walk in silence, and I myself have no idea what I could possibly say. So the two of us arrive at her house, having said nothing since getting off the bus. Emmy's mother opens the door and doesn't seem surprised to see me standing next to her daughter. I expect that Emmy would have phoned ahead to let her mother know of the change in plans. Emmy, Hisao, you're just in time. Lunch is just about ready. Great. I was afraid we might be running late. As fast as you were going this morning, I doubt there was much of a chance of that. I certainly hope she wasn't too much of a bother, Hisao. She tends to get a little paranoid about being on time when food's involved. I hadn't noticed. This earns me a swat on the arm from Emmy, who, despite the serious nature of our conversation on the bus and the almost brooding quiet walk, has quickly become cheerful again. Probably to keep her mother from worrying about whatever it is Emmy plans to tell me later. Mrs. Abarazaki ushers me in, and in short order we're around the table devouring lunch. Hadn't realized how hungry I was until I got here, but for once I seem to be eating almost as much as Emmy. Goodness, it's a good thing I made so much. The two of you are acting like you hadn't eaten in days. I skipped breakfast this morning. Me too. Had to catch the bus, I assume. That, and I figured you'd make too much food, so it wouldn't matter if I skipped breakfast. Well, it's good to know that I'm predictable. Emmy nods enthusiastically, and conversation falls off again as we very nearly clear the table of anything edible. It is a testament to the sheer amount of food on offer that we don't finish everything. Not for lack of trying! I lean back in my chair with a sigh and thank Miss Abarazaki for the food. I'm glad you liked it, Hisao. Now, has Emmy told you where we're going? Yes, sort of. Is it far from here? Not really, but we'll drive there to save time. It closes kind of early. I nod in assent and stand up, ready to go. Well then, shall we? Mrs. Abarazaki nods and leaves the room to grab her keys. Emmy, I noticed, has started to fidget nervously. Second thoughts? Emmy smiles tightly at me and shrugs. She's fallen silent again, which probably means that I'm right, and she's starting to regret bringing me along. Not that I blame her. She's done a good job of shutting me out that I doubt it's easy to suddenly open up, but honestly, I'm worried that she's forcing it. But she said while we're waiting for the bus that I'm not supposed to give her a chance to back out, and since I promised to go with her anyway, I suppose there's not much of a choice. Can't go back on my promise, and she can't go back on hers. I just hope the both of us are up to it. So do I, man. We're off. Emmy's mother blows through the dining room, collecting the two of us, and heads out the door at a brisk pace. Now I know where her daughter gets it from. I like to think that she actually picked up both of them and put us both under her arms and just kind of deadlifts us into a car. because that's a really funny mental image for me. The car pulls up at the cemetery gates. And I feel Emmy tense up beside me. I reach over and give her hand a comforting squeeze, which causes her to relax a little. Emmy's mother doesn't follow us, explaining that she prefers to visit the grave alone. Emmy steps through the gates and looks back as if to make sure I'm still there. We step into the cemetery. I don't feel comfortable in cemeteries. Gravestones litter the ground, each one serving as a reminder that someone used to be alive and is no longer. Oh yeah, I don't think I could ever step foot in one of those. How many died young? How many were as old as I am now? When do I wind up with a marker of my own? How much longer do I have left? The concept of not waking up, not seeing Emmy anymore is not a happy one. It frightens me. And I very nearly turn and exit right then and there. I don't want to go among dead people. I don't want to see their stones and think about who they were or what they could have been if they had only more time. Then I look at the girl next to me and my resolve returns. Emmy's striding purposely down the path, eyes clear, setting a pace that's very nearly a jog. The sooner we get there, I suspect she thinks, the better. We're here. A gravestone, wholly unremarkable in everything except for the name etched upon it. The grass has grown up around the base. Emmy's eyes are riveted to the stone. After a few moments, she turns around, looking surprisingly calm, yet solemn. Pink's not actually my favorite color, you know. What? I'm warming up to it. People tend to think that pink's my favorite color. I think it's because I like strawberries. And even though those are red, they just assume that pink's the right color for strawberries. And that's it. And that, it's my favorite color, but it's not. I'm too polite to tell anyone otherwise, of course. And it's not the kind of thing worth getting worried about, but I'll bet even you thought pink was my favorite color. Actually, I would have guessed green. Blue, that's my favorite color. My mom and dad are the only two who know that, and now you do too. I really like blue too. Thanks for telling me, I think. You're welcome. There's a pause as she considers what to say next, drawing a quick breath. I can't carry a tune to save my life. I can hum, but actually singing a song is something I've never been able to do. I don't mind because I'm not a fan of karaoke anyway. Well, that's one potential date idea out the window. People all think that I'm a really popular and friendly person, but I only have a few close friends, probably because I keep everyone in the dark. But I think it's also because I hate the idea of losing a close friend. Now, ain't that a mood and a half? There aren't many people worth the risk. I'm terrible at saying goodbye. I sometimes think that I only run because it's what I used to do with my father. You know, my first boyfriend. I dated a guy for a long while during my second year at Yamaku. But in the end, we broke up because I didn't want to get closer to him. He couldn't live with that distance between us. Her rate of speaking increases slightly, as if she's rushing towards a finish line. I'm actually 1 year older than you. Everybody thinks I'm younger because I'm short, but I had to skip one school year because of my accident. They initially thought I was paralyzed when they pulled me out of the wreckage. I'd lost my legs already, but they weren't afraid that I wouldn't be able to use what was left of them. After surgery, it was clear that their initial assessment was a mistake. I couldn't feel my legs because of shock, short-term paralysis due to the other trauma I'd experienced. My recovery was one of the fastest they'd ever seen, or so they told me. I never found out if they were serious about that, or if they just told that to all the patients learning to walk again. She pauses, gathering herself for one last effort. 8 years ago, I lost my legs, and I lost my father as well. He died on the way to the hospital. I didn't even get to go to the gravesite until 2 months later, and couldn't attend his funeral. I'm so sorry. Don't be. That's what everyone always says, that they're sorry. I hate hearing that. Like anyone could have done anything to change what happened. You know the best piece of advice I got? These things happen. I don't even remember who said it, but I guess they didn't have anything better to say. But it's true, you know? These things happen. There's nothing you can do about it. They aren't necessarily planned, and they aren't always bad, and they aren't always good, but they are. So I made the decision I would live without worrying about the future. And to be sure that I never had to say goodbye again, I decided I wouldn't let people get close to me anymore. After all, they could be taken away at any time. And you know what? She laughs, a little bitterly. Her eyes start to well up with tears, and I step forward to embrace her, but she holds up a hand to stop me. I'm not finished. A deep breath, and she continues. It worked pretty well, until I met you and saw that you were trying to adjust the stuff here. So I thought I'd help. And then you were so nice, and I couldn't help it. The tears are flowing now, and she accepts the embrace this time. The rest of her sentence is mumbled into my chest. I tried not to fall for you, but I did. Then I tried to keep you at a distance like with my first boyfriend, but I couldn't. But I've been so scared because I don't want to lose you, and I might anyway. Hey, I'm still around, right? Maybe I won't be forever, but don't you think it'll be fun while it lasts? Neither of us could survive the day. There could be a bus crash or something. But so long as I know that I've been with you, I don't think it matters. A sudden thought strikes me and I can't help laughing. My condition had me scared of dying so badly that I immediately seized on the opportunity Emmy presented to me to improve my odds of living longer. But without Emmy, would there have been any motivation to keep up with my running? It hits me that Emmy is the reason I want to go running every day, so I can spend as much time with her as possible. Emmy looks up at me confused. We'll go on living until we stop. And when we'll stop living, we'll be able to know that at least we've had time together. I wouldn't have it any other way. Because I love you, Emmy. And right now, that's enough for me. Emmy smiles through her tears and steps back from me. You know, it's funny. What is? I thought that the best way to live in the moment was to do it alone. But now I don't think I'd have it any other way either. I'm glad I met you, Hisao. Well, these things happen. Em and I stay by the grave for a while as Emmy pays her respects to her father. When she's ready to go, we exit the graveyard side by side. Emmy's mother drives us back to Yamaku. The trip back is very quiet. We wave goodbye as the car drives off, and I glance down at the girl leaning on my arm. How are you feeling? Emmy shrugs non-committally. I'll be fine. Come on, let's go. We pause outside the girl's dorm, and I turn to face Emmy, ready to say goodbye. Why don't you come up for a while? Okay. The walk up to her room is in silence. I'm not sure why I suppose I'd turn away at the door. I guess I just assumed she'd want to be alone. Her mom, the nurse, hell, everyone who knew the significance of today seemed to think it's best to leave Emmy alone. But she took me into the graveyard with her. She told me the whole story of what happened on the day she lost her legs. She wanted me around. The significance of this does not escape me. Emmy opens the door and steps into her room, not even bothering to invite me in, holding the door for me expectantly. I step in and the door swings shut behind me. Hey, can I ask you a favor? Sure. Can't guarantee I'll do it, but... Emmy giggles and pulls me into a kiss that starts off soft but deepens into something almost desperate. Stay with me, please. Her voice has dropped to a whisper. The question is barely audible over the sound of my own breathing. There's something about the way that she asked that question, the hesitancy in it, the quiet voice, that makes me think she doesn't mean tonight. No, she means exactly what she said. Stay with me. Not tonight or forever, because of us. Both of us know there's no such thing as forever. There's no time limit to her request. There's just the request. The favor. Can I do that? Can I stay with her? Of course. We embrace again, Emmy guiding me towards her bed, stepping backwards with care until she sits down on the edge. Understandable. I collapse next to Emmy, who almost immediately curls against me, smiling. Mentally, I feel grateful that Emmy keeps her nails short. Otherwise, I think she might have drawn blood. Okay. I sit up briefly to dispose of the... Thank you for that. And lay back down next to Emmy, who's in turn taking care of cleaning herself off. Thank you. For a while, we lay in silence, saving the feeling of being next to one another. Emmy is the first to speak. Hey, Hisao. Thanks for coming with me today. I smile and plant a kiss on her head. Of course. My pleasure. Emmy snuggles closer, and I can feel her breathing begin to slacken as she begins to drift off to sleep. Just as she's about to fall asleep, she wakes up enough to mutter a single sentence. I love you, Hisao. Then she's out like a light, leaving me feeling like I'm on top of the world. I draw the slumbering Emmy as close as possible, pull the covers over us to keep the chill off, sorry, and fall asleep as happy as I've ever been. They had a moment. It's sweet. I'm not going to mess that up. The morning light seems to reach further into Emmy's room than it does into mine. The results in my waking up earlier than I would have if I had gone back to my room last night, as she had previously been on her routine. I did not realize it until this morning, but this is the first time we've actually spent the night together. A small movement from my partner's still slumbering form causes me to look to the side. Hair splayed across her face, Emmy continues to sleep peacefully curled up next to me. It's slightly weird seeing her without her trademark twin tails. It's also a look I could get used to. The small size of the beds here necessitate her curling up, but I'm pretty sure she would have done so anyway. The covers are nearly over her head, and I smile as an errant strand of her hair causes her nose to twitch slightly. Unable to help myself, I draw her a little closer, a move she seems to think is a good idea. Her steady breath raises a trail of goosebumps on my chest, but I don't mind. I'm no longer tired, but I don't feel a need to move from my current position. Emmy's warm body in repose against mine is far too comfortable to move. I gaze up at the ceiling and consider how it is that we got to this point. We've been close for a while, but not this close. Seems like only yesterday that she ran into me in the hallway and after apologizing decided to take an interest in my well-being. That grew into something else, which I at least was not expecting. One thing is for certain. Having found Emmy, I'll try as hard as I can not to lose her. My morning musing is interrupted by further movement from Emmy. Her eyes flutter open and she seems briefly confused by my presence in her bed, as well as her current state of dress, which is non-existent. Then she smiles happily and sits up, her face looking down at me. Good morning, Hisao. Hi. Sleep well? Yeah. Yeah, I did. Exhausting day yesterday, you know. I think back over yesterday's trip to the graveyard. Yeah, glad to hear you slept well. How'd you sleep? Well enough. Although you kept hogging the covers. That earns me a shove and a stuck-out tongue. I chuckle, and Emmy giggles a little, and we fall quiet for a while. I soak up the feeling of how right it all seems, waking up with Emmy by me, crammed into a bed made for one person. It's something I could get used to. Hey, Hisao. Thanks for sticking around. No problem. Saved me the walk back anyway, right? This draws another giggle, but then as Emmy's expression turned serious again. No, really. I kept trying to push you away because I thought that was the right thing to do. And you stuck around through it all. I haven't made any of this easy for you, but you stuck it out anyway. So really, I mean it. Thank you. She punctuates this by giving me a kiss, pulling back, and looking at me with an expression of affection. I reach up and ruffle her hair, smiling all the while. I'm stupidly lucky, I think. To have come through everything after my heart attack and to have somehow found this girl is nothing short of a miracle. Very welcome, Emmy. I couldn't bear the thought of giving you up. I'll even continue to stick around if you want. I'd like that. That settles it then. I don't know how long my heart will keep working. I don't even know what I'll do after this year is over, apart from going to university. As long as Emmy's around, I think I'll be okay. I've managed to help her, and she's managed to help me. If we keep doing that, we'll be okay, I think. So, Hisao, what do you want to do today? That's a really, really good story. So, where to go from here, huh? I suppose by the strictest of definitions, it could be over, right? This could be the end of the series. By all definitions, I played through the game. I've, quote-unquote, beat it. Oh man, I'm seeing all that concept art is actually really neat. I'm really content with this one, though. Part of me is curious about other stories, you know? I'm gonna have to think about it for a bit. Regardless, the story of Emmy was a really good one. I liked it a lot, and I'm really glad I got to experience it. Maybe I'll see you guys soon.